Welcome to Super 8 Review with me, Sadi Raza. It's Ahmed Khwaja in the UAE. So, a lot of matches to review. Let's start off with the blockbuster match earlier today, the Afghanistan-Australia one, where Afghanistan made history, beating Australia. What a match! There was lots of ebbs and flows to this. So Afghanistan went into bat, and again a third century stand for Gurbaz and Zadran. But then Australia sort of pulled it back. Pat Cummins being one of the first player to ever score back-to-back hat tricks in the World Cup. And interestingly, that Ashton Agar for Mitchell Stark sort of move that Australia made seemed to work out, and they restricted Afghanistan to sort of mid 140 score. But then, despite the heroics of Glenn Maxwell, Afghanistan sort of prevailed at the end, and it's made a very interesting twist in that little Super 8 bracket, because this India Australia game now could be for all the marbles, because it's possible that if India beat Australia, Australia is out, and it's also possible that if Australia beat India, India could be out too, if there's enough margins on either end, and of course Afghanistan would have to beat Bangladesh by a significant margin. What did you think of this game?
Well, I think Australia played into Afghanistan's hands here, Doc, because Afghanistan are very comfortable, a lot more comfortable, I would say, batting first. Yes, it was a difficult wicket. There was variable bounce. There was a lot of assistance for the spinners, but Afghanistan always like to bat first. And of course, when you're chasing against them, you have to subtract those 4 overs of Rashid Khan. Let's assume he gives away 20 runs or 25 runs. So whatever target you have to assess in 16 overs rather than 20. And of course, it was outstanding batting. It really was a top effort from Rahmanullah Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadran. That ball was spitting and kicking right from ball one. And even though their spinners did not bowl particularly well, I thought Ashton Agar was quite poor with the new ball, couldn't land it where he wanted to. Adam Zampa was over pitching a lot as well. But Glenn Maxwell compensated with a very good spell. Marcus Stoinis bowled really well. Of course, there was no Mitchell Stark in this game, so you can put a bit of an asterisk there. But like you mentioned, 118-run opening stand, and then there was a bit of a collapse. They lost the next 6 wickets for just 30 runs, and we felt that Australia had done a decent job of keeping them to around 145, 150. But then it was Naveenul Haq with the new ball, and of course it was Rashid Khan building that pressure. And Gulbadi Naib, of all people, he was a journeyman cricketer of the last 2 years or so. He'd been lost in the wilderness. He had never been a serious match winner, but he's really turned around his T20 form, even got picked up in the IPL, and he bowls the spell of his life. 4 wickets and an unbelievable catch at extra cover to boot. And Afghanistan now, well, they more or less control their own destiny, and India have a massive opportunity to knock Australia out of the World Cup on the 24th. And let's see, if you get a chance to knock out these Aussies, you better do it. Otherwise, when they reach the playoff and the knockout stage, we all know what they can do.
Yeah, in many ways, this is sort of a quarterfinal for Australia, and I would say that I wouldn't bet against the Aussies in a eliminator, but India is going into this game in great form. Let's review their 2 matches. They obviously crushed Bangladesh, scored 196. Pandya, their unicorn of a player who both bats, bowls, does everything. Kohli coming into form, and then prior to that, they did their usual against Afghanistan, beating them handily. This time, Sky Surya Kumar Yadav being the key guy, scoring a half century in about 20, 30 odd balls. And of course, Pandey again, 32 of 24. It's good from an Indian perspective to see Kohli rounding into form, but I think they're showing this depth that they have. Even Dubey played really well in the Bangladesh match. Their bowlers are coming into form. It should be a cracker of a game against Australia.
Well, what has been the Achilles heel for India in the past in ICC tournaments was always the top order scoring heavily, and that middle order never really used to get game time or serious game time in the middle. It's been the total opposite in this tournament because of the sporting pitches. The top order has not really delivered apart from Rishabh Pant. Rohit Sharma, low score once again. Virat Kohli got a decent start against Bangladesh, but really struggled against Afghanistan as well. It's been the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav who's been carrying them. Hardik Pandya, like you mentioned, has been absolutely brilliant. Got a half century, quick fire half century yesterday against Bangladesh. And then he's so consistent with the ball. He always nips away one or two key wickets outside the power play. And of course, when you combine that with Jasprit Bumrah and Kuldeep Yadav, their 8 overs are almost impossible to deal with, especially Bumrah, who's been simply unplayable in this World Cup. So, India, all the micro 1%ers are going their way in the World Cup so far. They're really rounding out to be a very deadly unit. Whatever weak link they had in the fast bowling, that has been covered very, very nicely by Arshdeep Singh, who's bowled really well in this World Cup. And they seriously do look like the team to beat. And of course, they have the chance to knock out the arch enemy, the arch rivals Australia on the 24th. Let's see if they go all guns blazing, and grab that opportunity.
Having said that, if the Australians beat India handily and Afghanistan do the same to Bangladesh, it could be India heading home. Let's go to the other group. So the most interesting match in that group was South Africa actually beating England in a thriller. So the de Kock and Miller set the platform. They put up an excellent score. Harry Brook chipped in with a fantastic knock, and in the end, Nokia needed to, I think, save 13 runs. He had to defend 13 runs in the final over, and he did it despite a first ball boundary by Harry Brooks. That has England in trouble in that group. However, as we know, England does have a little bit of a buffer in that they beat the West Indies in a match that we've already covered quite handily earlier in the week. What did you think of that England-South Africa game?
Well, it was an absolutely fantastic game. It was the ground feeling and the catching of South Africa that really made the difference in the end. They took some absolute stunners in the field, especially Aidan Markram in the final over, getting the key wicket of Harry Brook. And well, it was South Africa pulling one out. I was really, really surprised the way the likes of Harry Brook and Liam Livingstone were running extremely hot in the latter half of the innings. I thought, oh boy, here we go. South Africa are going to give this game away, but they held their nerve. And well, Anrich Nokia coming through in the clutch. That's a massive, massive mental boost for South Africa more than anything else. They've perhaps been the most consistent side alongside India in this tournament so far. And let's see, they could be the team of destiny. I just have had this vibe throughout the tournament that everything is rounding out here for South Africa. Even though they've looked a bit shaky, they might have a bit of depth issues in their depth with Marco Jansen at number 7 and don't have a very long batting tail, but they just seem to keep getting away with it. And Quinton de Kock firing at the right time is extremely important for them. Played another dominant innings against the English. And if he continues to deliver with the bat, I think South Africa are very, very strong contenders to at least play a T20 World Cup final. They haven't even done that so far in the last 16, 17 years or so of this format. So I think they're primed for that opportunity in this World Cup.
And they have depth in bowling, Nokia, Rabada, but Kishore Maharaj bowled really well against England. And like you said, they've put to bed a lot of these their bogeys from previous World Cups. A lot of games they otherwise would have lost. They managed to pull through this year. It'd be tough for the West Indies to lose out for the semifinals, but they only have themselves to blame in the way in which they lost to England by 2.5 overs to spare.
Well, they absolutely smashed USA, even though, and what a great match that was! Absolutely packed to the rafters in Bridgetown, Barbados. What a turnout, even from the American fans. They really, really came out in numbers. That was the game I enjoyed the most in the Super 8 so far, but just because of the party atmosphere in Barbados. And even though it was Shea Hope who made it a one-sided game, but they won that match with about 4 or 5 overs to spare. You do expect England to take care of USA this afternoon, but it's going to come down to those equations. And when you've got a top order in form like the Windies have right now with Nicholas Poore and Shai Hope, and of course you have the likes of Robman Powell as well, who played really well against England, even though they lost out. You never know, Doc. You never know. I think England will be sweating bullets here. Joss Butler, once again, having to come in the long way around into a semi-final. So here's another opportunity to knock out a big fish. Let's see if the other sides in the group grab that opportunity.
Of course, Shea Hope with that fantastic 82 of 39. It could be interesting You could have two out of the big three of Australia, England, and New Zealand, and India not playing in the semifinals of a T20 World Cup. Something I don't think any of us could have predicted when the Super 8 started. Thank you very much. We'll do it again soon.